No good news in the North Caucasus. This year, the southernmost republics of the Russian Federation saw once again some of the worst human rights violations in Europe. The controversy in Ingushetia over the 2018 land deal with Chechnya, which handed 9% of Ingushetia's territory to Chechnya, culminated in late March with a renewed wave of anti-government protests. The authorities prosecuted at least 96 activists. Ingushetia's head Yunusbek Yevkurov's resignation, 3 months after the March crackdown, sparked street celebrations in Ingushetia and filled activists with hope, but the wave of repressions has only gained force. Rashid Maisigov, a journalist at Ingush news site Fortanga, was among them. He was charged with drug possession, a weapon of choice of the Russian authorities. Maisigov was also reportedly tortured. Fortanga was set up in the wake of the Chechen-Ingush land deal and covered the resulting protests. In November, the authorities searched the house of parents of Fortanga's co-founder and OC Media's correspondent, Izabela Yevloyeva. Another land dispute shook Chechen-Dagestani relations after Kadyrov tried to extend Chechnya's borders to include parts of Dagestan Kizlyar district. Following protests and dismantling of the Chechen signs in Kizlyar district by local Dagestanis, the dispute moved to the Supreme Court of Russia. The case is still pending. Earlier this year, the Russian LGBT network reported about yet another wave of mass detentions, torture and murder against queer people in Chechnya. Russian rights advocates claimed that since December 2018, about 40 men and women were rounded up and that 2 of them died as a result of torture. Chechen leadership vehemently denied the reports, insisting there were no queer people in Chechnya. In 2018, Chechnya and Russia's reputation was damaged with the prosecution of prominent local rights activist Oyub Titiev on trumped-up drug charges. Titiev chaired the Grozny branch of Russia's Memorial Human Rights Center. Following the international outcry, he was released on parole in July of this year. Earlier in 2018, Kadyrov publicly stated that human rights activists were not welcome in Chechnya, and that after Titiev's trial, Chechnya would be off-limits to them. In June, another drug-related arrest, this time of Meduza journalist Ivan Golunov, sparked a wave of protests across Russian cities against persecution of journalists. Golunov is ethnic Russian, and the public outcry that followed his arrest didn't include the dramatic developments in the ethnically diverse south of Russia. Caucasus-based rights groups and media establishments, including OC Media, called for equal public attention to the plight of journalists and activists working in the North Caucasus. This included Abdulmumin Gadjiyev, a journalist from independent Dagestani newspaper Chernavik, who faced terrorism charges, another Russian classic, and Martin Kochesoko, a Circassian rights activist who faced, you guessed it, drug charges. Despite glimmers of hope, like the release of Oyub Titiev, the situation in the North Caucasus remains utterly bleak, and it seems things will only get worse.